Talking about the philosophy of your coaching principles, which are the most important that you can describe in terms of how you work with players and then how you understand the game, which are important to share with different coaches, which are part of our audience?
Yeah, some of the things that I like to focus on with players is before I ever meet a player, before I ever work with a player, I like to spend time with him or her. But I also like for who's ever in charge of that player, whether it be a parent or another coach or a mentor, them to meet me. And I want them to know what makes me tick and the things that are important to me. And I want to know what things are important to that player. Because I think you've got to have a good understanding of those things to have a successful coaching career. I don't necessarily buy into the fact that there's the best coach in tennis or the worst coach. Yep. It's all dependent on the relationship between the coach and the player. So you can have a coach that's coached many top players in the world, but for one player they don't have a relationship with, so it's harder for them to connect. So they won't be as successful with that other player. So I like to make sure there's a connection between myself and the player that I coach. They understand me and I understand them. You also, you might think you're coaching a tennis player, but you're really, again, in my case, I'm working mostly with juniors. You're really helping a person to grow up, a person develop. You're a mentor for that player. I can remember as a young player, even before I played tennis in other sports, I spent most of the time with my parents, but the second most time of any day was spent with the coach. Mm-hmm. So I got a lot out of those coaches just on a daily basis and a human developmental basis. So it's really important that relationship works. So let's say you take the best situation. If you coach a young player and you start with him when he's, in his teens, and he becomes the best player everything works and he becomes the best player in the world, that's going to happen late 20s, early 30s. He still has another 50, 60, 70 years of life after that. So he needs to have developed those life skills. So when he's finished playing the best career, even when he's finished, that he can develop and he can move on in life. So that's an important part of my philosophy. Developing life skills as we're playing, as we're learning the game. What does that mean? That means it might be simple things. It might be showing up on time for practice. Keeping your commitments, keeping your word, respecting your opponent, respecting the game, respecting the officials, the facilities. A lot of old school philosophies, but instead of somebody said, "Whoa, he's an old coach," Well, let's say I would like to say it a little bit differently. I would like to say those are time-tested philosophies rather than their old philosophies. So I think they're going to help you in all parts of life. So those are the types of things. As far as tennis goes, the things that are important for me on a tennis court is that a player develops a plan B out on the court.